Welcome back. The first round of resumed sanctions against Iran set to go into effect tomorrow. The sanctions snap back into place with America's withdrawal from the Obama-era nuclear deal. Meanwhile, President Trump last week said that he is willing to meet with the leadership of Iran without any preconditions, but Iranian officials are snubbing the offer. For his part, the president tweeted yesterday this: Iran and its economy is going very bad and fast. I will meet or not meet. It doesn't matter. It is up to them. Here with me now, talking more about that, is former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman. He's the chairman of United Against Nuclear Iran. He is also the former chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee and former vice presidential candidate on the Democratic ticket in 2000. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So
Thank you.
The implications of these sanctions going back on, beginning tomorrow, are what?
Well, it's a very important day, and it's a day that I, for one, didn't think would happen. I mean, tomorrow's the day that effectively the Iran nuclear agreement of 2015 dies. And this is one death that I'm not mourning because I thought it was a bad agreement. I thought we gave away a lot, including taking off the sanctions. It's economic pressure on Iran. The sanctions that have been adopted by Republicans and Democrats in Congress over many years, and we took them off in return for not much from the Islamic Republic of Iran. So I give credit to President Trump on this one for getting us out of the agreement. There was a 90-day winding down period to Monday, August 6th. This is the day that half the sanctions go back on. And hopefully that'll bring the Iranians back to the negotiating table to negotiate a better agreement.
So you want this to lead to a renegotiation then? You do think there's a possibility for a deal to work?
I do think there's a possibility for a deal to work because Iran, the regime in Tehran has a lot of troubles. The economy is tanking. The rial, which is their currency, has lost 80% of its value in the last year. There are protests going on in cities all over the country, and the re-imposition of these sanctions, no matter what the other governments in Europe or Asia say about the Iran nuclear agreement of 2015, their businesses are not going into Iran because it's risky business. They basically don't want to make the choice that will shut them out of the American economy, which is putting these sanctions back on will. So I think if the government in Tehran is sensible and not extremist, which it usually is, it'll come back to the table for its own well-being, or there may well be a second Iranian revolution.
It felt like that this weekend, by the way. Yep. Iranians in the streets saying the rioters are calling for the mullahs to get lost. Right. A lot of upset, and the withdrawal of the U.S. from the Iran deal really reverberated throughout the political system there. You say the economy is tanking. What other practical things will we see as a result of these sanctions going into place?
Well, I think the most important thing is that most foreign businesses will not invest in Iran. And those that went in after the nuclear agreement of 2015 will pull out because putting the sanctions back on essentially gives them a choice. Do they want to do business in Iran, which has, I think, the 94th smallest economy in the world, or the United States, which is the financial capital, business capital of the world?
Yeah, good point. What do you think about the president's offer to meet with Iran, and then they blew it off?
Yeah, I was surprised by it.
Would you counsel the president to do that or not?
No, I was disappointed by it. Although I must say that, as happens sometimes with President Trump, something he does that doesn't make sense to me, according to at least one story in the newspapers, interviewing people on the streets in Iran, even though their leaders said, no, we will not talk to Trump. The people on the street were saying, why not talk to him? And you know why? Because they're suffering so much economically that they see that as a possibility. Secretary Pompeo pretty much walked back President Trump's offer after the Iranian leadership basically gave thumbs down. And I think there's going to be a period of time where the government in Iran is going to be tested. Economic pressure and protests by their own people. And the only way they're ever going to come and negotiate a good agreement is if they think their own regime is in jeopardy, because these are extremists. and we'll see whether that happens.
Which I think was the case with North Korea. He was worried about his own position forcing him to the table. All right, so you think the sanctions go back on, and they are going to squeeze the country even further economically, and perhaps get them to the table to do a new deal. Let me switch gears, ask you to go back to Washington with me for a moment, because Brett Kavanaugh getting confirmed on the Supreme Court is certainly one of the priorities for this administration.
Right.
Do you think the Senate will come through with the votes?
Hard to say, really, but I mean, if I was betting, I'd say more likely than not. I mean, the Democrats in the Senate are going to play the major game that's played in Washington these days, tit for tat. I mean, the Republicans stopped President Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland to the Supreme Court a couple of years ago, and so the Democrats are going to try procedurally to stop Kavanaugh from coming up for a vote, because they're hoping that more Democrats will be elected in this November's elections. If it comes to a vote before, then my guess is that most all the Republicans hold for Judge Kavanaugh, and maybe a couple of Democrats, particularly those in moderate states who are moderates themselves, will vote for him. Democrats.
And those moderates have already reversed course, saying, okay, we will meet with him.
Correct.
And so now we're expecting them to meet with Judge Kavanaugh, and perhaps he'll get them to vote.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I thought it was not sensible, although I understood why the Democrats were doing it, to say they wouldn't even meet with him. He's a judge of the circuit court. He's been nominated for the highest court in the land. You got to at least sit down and talk to him about the issues.
Your thoughts real quick before you go on the midterm elections. Is it going to be a red wave or a blue wave?
I'm a little modest about predicting after 2016, but I will say that my prediction today is that it's going to be a blue wave, a Democratic wave, not a big wave in the House. Democrats retake the House if the elections are today. My guess is that the Republicans hold the Senate, but it's going to be close.
All right, we'll leave it there. Senator, it's great to see you this morning.
You too, Maria.
Thank you so much.